She came storming down the dock like she owned the whole water. "You can't fish here! $600 fine effective immediately!" she shouted, waving a slip of paper with the HOA logo printed on it. I looked around. No badge, no uniform, just Karen in her sun hat, breathing heavy like she was sheriff of a lake. I said calmly, "Ma'am, this is a public lake. You don't make the rules here." Her face turned red. She shoved the paper into my chest and snapped, "We do make the rules! Pay the fine or you don't regret it!" I laughed, but inside, I was boiling. She wasn't just trying to humiliate me, she was setting me up. A few seconds later, she pulled out her phone and dialed 911 right in front of me. "Yes, operator, there's a trespasser. He's dangerous. Send officers immediately." My stomach dropped. She wasn't just playing games, she was lying to the police. And in America, that can ruin a man's life. I stood there gripping my fishing rod, watching her fake tears roll down as she pointed at me like I was some criminal. But I wasn't scared. Not because of the rod in my hand, not because of any shouting crowd starting to form, but because I already knew something she didn't. I had been waiting for this moment, and the look on her face when the real truth came out would be worth every second of this setup. Within minutes, 2 squad cars pulled up, lights flashing against the calm water. Karen waved her arms like she had just saved the whole neighborhood. "That's him! He's trespassing, refusing to leave, and threatening me!" she cried out. The officers stepped out, hands near their holsters, eyes on me. For a second, I thought about how fast this could go wrong, all because one entitled woman wanted to flex power she never had. I raised my hand slowly. "Officers, before you do anything, let me ask, do you see any posted signs here, any actual ordinance?" They glanced around. Nothing. Just open shoreline. No private signs, no HOA markers. Karen cut him off. "The HOA manages this lake, and he broke our rules. Arrest him!" Her voice cracked like she believed yelling louder made her right. One of the deputies sighed. "Ma'am, this lake isn't listed under your HOA jurisdiction." That's when Karen's whole act slipped. Her eyes darted, her jaw tightened. She barked back, "No, we filed paperwork. We run this place. He owes us $600. The deputy looked at me, waiting. I didn't say a word. Instead, I pulled a folded envelope from my tackle box and held it up. Inside was the surprise I had been sitting on for weeks. The property deed. Not for a house, not for a strip of land, no, for the entire lake. My attorney had called it the deal of the century. And tonight, Karen was about to find out exactly who she had picked a fight with. Karen froze when she saw the papers in my hand. "What's that supposed to be? Some fake document you printed at home?" she sneered, but her voice had lost that sharp edge. I handed the envelope to the deputy. He opened it, scanned the pages, and his eyebrows shot up. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "this deed shows he owns the entire lake, outright, purchased legally last month." Her mouth dropped open. No, that's impossible. The HOA controls this lake. We always have." She looked around desperately, hoping someone would back her up, but the small crowd that had gathered started whispering. Some even laughed. One man muttered, "Guess Karen's not the queen of the lake after all." Karen lunged forward, trying to snatch the papers, but the deputy stepped between us. "Ma'am, if you touch this again, it'll count as tampering with legal property." That only made her angrier. She pointed a shaking finger at me and shouted, "You can't just steal a lake." I finally spoke, keeping my voice calm. "I didn't steal anything. I bought it, legally, which means from this moment on, it's private property, and you, Karen, are trespassing." The words landed like a thunderclap. Even the officers turned toward her, waiting for her reaction. Her face twisted with rage, but beneath it, I could see something else. Fear. She had spent years bullying people with fake rules, and now, for the first time, she had no power. Karen's shrill voice cut through the air, but it was trembling now. "This is a setup. You bribed someone. You forged those papers. The deputy raised his hand sharply. "Enough. We'll verify this at the county office, but until then, the only trespasser we see right now is you." The crowd chuckled louder, phones raised, recording every second. Karen spun around, realizing this wasn't just about me anymore. Her whole reputation, her fake authority, her intimidation games was unraveling live in front of neighbors she used to boss around. "Turn those cameras off! I'll sue every one of you!" she screamed, but no one listened. I took a step closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "You wanted me fined for fishing. Now I can fine you for trespassing. And if you don't leave in the next minute, the sheriff's office will handle it." The color drained from her face. She knew I wasn't bluffing. Karen stomped toward the parking lot, muttering curses, but just before she reached her SUV, she spun back and yelled, "This isn't over! The HOA will destroy you!" I didn't even have to reply. The deputy beat me to it. "Ma'am, the HOA has no authority here anymore. Better get used to it." And as she drove off, tires screeching, I could feel every eye on me. Not in suspicion this time, but in respect. They weren't just watching a guy who loved to fish. They were watching the man who now owned the water beneath their boats, and the man who just brought Karen to her knees.
The next morning, the HOA board tried their last trick. They showed up in suits, clutching binders stuffed with rules and bylaws, demanding a meeting at the lake's edge. One of them even tried to sound official. "You can't just privatize something the HOA has always maintained. We'll contest this in court." I let them finish their speech, then calmly pulled out my phone and played a recording. Karen's voice rang out clear. "We'll fine him $600. Call 911. Make him regret it." The gasps from the crowd behind me said it all. The deputies I'd invited stood by, arms crossed, listening closely. "That's harassment and filing a false police report," one officer said, "and it's evidence." The board members went pale. Nobody wanted to sync with Karen. Within minutes, they scattered, muttering about checking with their lawyers. But everyone knew the HOA's power was broken. Karen had overplayed her hand, and now the whole neighborhood saw the truth. I walked back to the dock, my wife waiting with a smile. "So, what now?" she asked. I looked out over the water, the morning sun painting the lake gold. "Now, it's ours, and no one gets fined for fishing here again." That night, I posted the story online. Karen screaming at the cops, the deed in my hand, the HOA crumbling. Millions watched, and the comments poured in. Veterans, fishermen, families, all cheering. One man wrote, "This is why we fight for property rights. No one tells you can't fish on their own land." I didn't fight wars overseas to come home and get bullied by a fake HOA queen. Owning this lake wasn't just about fishing anymore. It was about freedom, family, and proving that some battles are worth winning right here at home.